The more you tell yourself everything's red, you're never actually going to see the yellow. And that's just such is life, and that's the lesson of it all. The lesson is learning how much is actually within your control. I'm so vain. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of Vain. I'm your host, Senjule, and I'm so incredibly grateful, as always, to be here with you again. I literally can't even stop smiling. Do you see it on my face? I'm trying not to blush. Okay, we're actually just going to get into it. This week we're talking about soft love and soft living and why exactly you won't allow that for yourself, because what the hell? I think we try to feed ourselves this idea of like, I want a soft life with a soft relationship and I don't want to have to work for love or work too hard. But then we actually stand in any way possible that we're given by God of meeting that. We try to ruin every single chance at that we get by creating unnecessary obstacles for ourselves that are curated out of fears that we refuse to acknowledge. And then we wonder why we can't have the love that we so desperately want, when every single time we call it in, we're actually simultaneously pushing it away. There's this little sweet spot, between anxious attachment styles and avoidant attachment styles. This little mix in between both. We're simultaneously pushing and pulling the people and the things that we love or we want to love because we're actually scared. And this shows up in really sneaky ways that we don't even like really deep until we realize we've ruined things for ourselves. Whether that's having somebody that we actually like and cheating or running or ghosting, or having someone that we don't really like and basically begging for their attention. And then there's like this little tiny in between where it's like, I actually found someone very normal and I'm going to play completely hot and cold depending on how I'm feeling that day because I haven't healed my own wounds. Whoever that might be for you, that's what we're getting into today, because enough, please, for the love of God. We deserve some real love in our lives, and whether you like it or not, you're the one who's standing in the way of that. Like we talked about last week, the things that you call into your life, the love that you want into your life, that is within your control. You might be looking around or looking at me and being like, Claire, I don't have any great guys in my city, or I don't have any guys like that around me, or I don't have any people like that in my life, or girls, or whatever you're into. I don't have any of that opportunity where I'm at, or they just don't exist, or what, you think the last good man was taken off the face of this earth? No. Like, we create blocks in our lives by creating these stories and these narratives in our head about the fact that we can't have this because of XYZ circumstance, and we're already limiting ourselves to a love that is possible by giving ourselves a billion reasons as to why it's not possible for us and us purely. My biggest block when it came to this, because trust me, I felt like that at some point, was realizing how full of myself I was by believing that. And that's okay. It's okay to admit it. We're a little vain around here. But it's like, how incredibly special do I have to think I am, to think that I'm the only person in this world who will never be able to find true love, or I am this rare special case that is undeserving but everybody else is. It's this little victim mindset we keep ourselves in that we need to remove ourselves from if we actually want to find that love. I had to start really understanding the things that I was affirming into this world, things that I was repeating to myself that were creating these beliefs and these narratives that were dictating how I was operating in this world, which stopped me from being able to find the love that I wanted. The minute that I finally let it go and I realized that my words were the only thing that were in my control, my thoughts were the only thing that were in my control, and shaping those were my responsibility, was I then finally able to bring in the things into my life that I've always desired, to bring a love into my life that felt so pure. And before that, it was a rough road. It was a rocky. I look back and I'm actually scared. Sometimes I actually get like little flashbacks from some of my friends on Snapchat. When I do open Snapchat every blue moon, I stopped for this reason, because it actually feels disrespectful being reminded of the poor behavior I used to accept into my life. It hurts. I don't remember. I like to pretend like I don't, but I do. It haunts me sometimes at 2 a.m. But now I look at how much I've learned to love myself and to respect myself and to tell myself of what I deserve. When I started putting that into practice, the rest of it is just history. So that's what we're getting into today. That's what I want to teach you about, because I want you to see how much control you actually have, how much power you have over your love life, over your choices that will dictate such, instead of feeling so victim to your circumstance or to your town or to how you look and how that is fitting into this beauty standard hoopla. A lot of it is a whole bunch of hoopla that we just choose to believe, but none of it actually has to be true, so long as you decide to believe that. Everything ultimately is a choice, if you haven't already learned from me so far. That's the one thing I really hope that sticks with you the rest of this video. I don't ever want you to think that you have to push to be loved. It should come easy. But if it's not coming easy, you have to look at whatever roadblocks you are creating in your life to make it so difficult. Just because it's hard right now doesn't mean it has to be hard forever. And you might be looking at other people like it's easy for them because of pretty privilege. It's easy for them because of circumstance. I don't know. I can't even think of the excuses because I don't care to. I'm tired of thinking of excuses. I spent so long trying to pull them out of my head that I can't even fathom them for you right now. But whatever excuse you're giving yourself in comparison to other people, you need to let go of, because what makes you think you're special? So special to the point where you don't deserve the love that the girl next door has. Just because of how you look or how you were raised or where you were raised or what kind of money you have. Girl, boy, doesn't matter. We all deserve to be loved all the same. But it's our beliefs that will determine ultimately whether or not that love is something that is within our reach. And the minute you keep surrendering that power to external circumstances, the more you keep perpetuating the cycle of loneliness, of worthlessness. And then you completely attract things into your life that affirm that. And that's not cute. We're leaving that behind, guys. We can't keep doing this and saying that it's the internet that makes it impossible to find great people these days. How often do you leave your house? How often do you put yourself in situations, in the places where you'd want to meet your dream person? I wrote down to a T. I've talked about this before in previous episodes. I wrote down to a T what my boyfriend was going to be like. And it took so much trial and error. It took tears. It took celibacy. It took a bird shitting on my face to finally find this man. And that's when I didn't find him until I stopped looking. I didn't find him until I surrendered to God and I said, you know what, I'm going to spend this time focusing on myself. And there he was at the woodworks. And coincidentally, he was kind of right in front of me the whole time. I just kept telling myself that he didn't exist. And you know what? The more you tell yourself something, the more it'll happen. The more you tell yourself something isn't there, you're not going to see it. The more you tell yourself everything's red, you're never actually going to see the yellow. And that's just such is life, and that's the lesson of it all. The lesson is learning how much is actually within your control, how much power you actually harbor, and how much God is willing to give that to you. And it's up to you how much of that you're actually going to take. There's so many options that are constantly available to us in terms of changing our environments, changing our ways of life, and we'll stay so resistant to them because we're comfortable. But why are you comfortable staying in this state of self-hatred? And don't tell me you don't, because it reflects in your actions, even if it doesn't seem sound in your mind. And that's the funny thing about cognitive dissonance, yeah? Is that when something doesn't make sense to us mentally, we'll make sure that our environments reflect it, so then it does actually finally make sense. If you tell yourself there are no good people out there for you, you're probably going to hermit inside the house and steer clear from a lot of people, and you are going to reaffirm that through your actions that there are no good people. Your brain's like, okay, I believe you. You look left and right, there's no good people, and you end up alone. But if you tell yourself there's somebody out there that loves me already, I just haven't met them yet, and you remind yourself that of every day, and you let that be the reason why you get out of bed and why you finally go outside, and you let yourself get ready, you let yourself get cute, and you put yourself in environments where you want to find this person, because one, that's also something you have to be very intentional about. You will finally realize that you have been the reason why you haven't been able to call this into your life. And this is not to make you feel like you're a weirdo. We all do it. I feel like this whole lesson of life is just learning how to unlearn things. We spend so much of our lives learning up until adulthood, and adulthood is just unlearning what we've learned in the first place, which is a whole new realm of learning in itself. And love is a big lesson throughout all of it. We can't do this life without people. We can't do this life alone. But you have to believe that you're deserving and worthy of it. One of the biggest questions that I get, like I said, is, how do you keep a man? I don't. My priority, my thought to myself when I finally get someone that I love is never, how am I going to keep this person? Because I'd be constantly living in a state of lack, of worry, of anxious attachment. But for me to finally be able to let go of these attachment styles that I learned growing up, I had to learn how to be present in the moment and realize what is in my control. I cannot control if a man decides to leave tomorrow. I cannot control if he decides to leave tomorrow. I can't control what he does. I can't control any of that. All I can do is focus on what is within my control. And that's how I show up in my relationships. That's how I show my love language. And that's how I respond to behaviors I see from him. I'm never in my life ever sitting there worrying about if I'm going to be able to keep my boyfriend or compete. That is delusional. Get that out of your head immediately. We're not trying to force people to stay in our lives if they don't want to stay in our lives. We're not trying to force people into our lives if they don't want to be in our lives. We're not trying to force people out of our lives if they want to be in our lives. We're not trying to force anything. The whole point of soft love is to go with the flow and let things be the way they're meant to be. Let things turn out the way they're meant to turn out, because God is showing you something so incredibly important. And who are you to derail the lessons that were put in front of you for a reason? I know a lot of the times we stop ourselves from finding new love because we've been so heartbroken in the past. That's a really big case. It's like, how do I learn how to walk again in relationships? How do I learn how to love freely again, to love softly again, and anxious free again after I've been cheated on or abused or anything under the sun that makes you feel like you can't extend your heart out again? But the biggest thing that has really sat with me after leaving many toxic relationships is that every time you meet a new person is an opportunity to start anew. And you have to be willing to let that baggage come with you without it weighing you down. No one's saying you have to abandon where you've come from, but you can't carry that the same way when you decide to make a new life with someone. When you decide to move on, you have to actually mean it. And you can't keep thinking that the same patterns are going to perpetuate themselves, but they will if you believe it, you know? That's what I'm trying to get really firm on. It's really just about your mindset. I would never go into a new relationship after getting cheated on thinking that this person's going to cheat on me, because if that's all I'm worried about, that's all I'm anxious about, chances are this is going to kind of hit the fan at some point, because the trust is already lacking even if this person hasn't given me a reason not to trust them. That's what I mean by you carry it with you. You realize that you're smarter from the last time, you learned the lessons from the last time, but you're not walking into everything thinking that everyone's going to be the same as the person you left. It's building trust within yourself, knowing that you know better, that you know the signs, and that you went through what you went through, so you can be able to recognize those signs. Because God knows that's the only way we learn. It's only through experience. Don't be mad at the experience happening. Be happy that it happened and that you left, and you have the wisdom you have now to carry into your relationships that you have, and the relationships that you'll continue to harbor from here on out. That's all we can do. That's the only thing that's in your control. And ultimately, it's a lot more simple than we make it out to be. It doesn't have to be this difficult. Baby love doesn't have to be hard. Love doesn't have to be hard. The only thing that's hard is allowing ourselves to feel loved and safe simultaneously. That's the real challenge. And that challenge is fully up to you. The minute you absolve yourself from trying to control how this person is going to act, and you focus on what wounds you need to heal within yourself, it'll make the relationship a lot more enjoyable and a lot more tolerable, because you'll realize that the only thing you're really trying to do is keep yourself safe. And you cannot keep yourself safe by trying to mitigate somebody else's actions. Let me repeat that. You cannot keep yourself safe by trying to mitigate somebody else's actions. You cannot try to protect yourself by controlling someone else. That is not self-protection. We don't protect ourselves by avoiding. We don't protect ourselves by controlling. We protect ourselves by confronting what's in the dark behind our feelings, what's in the shadows of our feelings that's making us believe that we have to be in control of another person and their actions. That's just not how human beings work, man. We're not supposed to control each other. We're supposed to love and let love freely. And if you feel like you can't do that, that is something you need to resonate within yourself, rather than trying to control the person that you're with or control the outcome of your relationship. The only thing you can control is how you show up as your best self, as you. And if you feel like you can't do that, there's a lot of internal work that needs to be done before you even consider being with another person again, because what another person doesn't deserve is your batshitness, because you can't figure out how to mitigate your own feelings, how you can't manage your own emotions. That's our responsibility as adults. When you finally pick a partner and you find somebody that you love, you're a team. You worry about that person worries about you, but ultimately you need to worry about how much of your energy you're putting back into yourself so you don't deteriorate the state of your relationship. It's almost like, it's funny, I find with parenting these days, we're almost trying to reverse the damage our parents have done, but then we almost start to overexert our worries by overcompensating, by trying not to be like them. We end up just full circling. It's the same thing in any relationship. It's like you're worried that your ex told you that you're too clingy, so now you're trying to overcompensate by being super nonchalant. Now you're in a new relationship trying to tell you that you're actually really emotionally unavailable, and that just doesn't work for them. And you're like, what do you mean? This person used to tell me I was so clingy. That was my toxic trait. I was too clingy. Now I'm trying to stop being clingy. You can't move too much to these extremes. That kind of goes back into what I was trying to say in my last week's episode of expectations and standards. Is that when you move for other people's expectations, you're still out of alignment with yourself. You know, if you're trying to meet the expectations of an ex in your new relationship because you're scared that this one's going to fail, you'll end up perpetuating cycles that are toxic. What worked in a relationship that failed isn't going to work in a new relationship. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it's making sense. But if you're trying to build a relationship on the foundations of notions and ideas of what didn't work in your last relationship, this relationship is going to be incredibly difficult for you to manage, for you to enjoy. If you're constantly just trying to avoid what's happened in the past. You know what I mean by anxious and avoidance? That little sweet spot in between is that you end up being so anxiously avoidant that you're stuck in this cycle of like nonsense, and you don't even realize that you're the one who's creating it for yourself. And I don't mean to just call you out. Trust me, I only speak it because I've been it. Like, I've been there a billion times over, and it can be disheartening and make you feel like love isn't worth it, but it is. It really is. You just need to see where you haven't been giving yourself the love to move on from the situations that have hurt you so badly that they make you think that real love is not obtainable for you. But anyways, my loves, that's exactly why I get into what I get into every single week, is practicing this vanity, loving yourself so obsessively, radically, lovingly all the time that you don't even feel like you have to claw for mediocre love or beg for the bare minimum or push away love that is finally good for you because you know you're so all deserving of it. But it takes giving yourself that energy first, making sure you're tending to her before spilling it out to somebody else so that cup is always full. We never want to be running on empty. I've been in a car before that's been almost out of gas, and it's the most frustrating, infuriating circumstance one can be in because you're in something that's supposed to help you move, and yet you're stuck in one spot. And that's what it's going to feel like if you don't replenish yourself, if you don't take the time to work on you, but you keep calling in this man who's all got it all together, all 10, suit down, money, and emotionally mature, but you're not taking your time to sort out your own emotional turmoil. How do you expect those good things to last? We'll push them out. The cognitive dissonance, your brain will think this doesn't belong here. I don't deserve this love. You'll find reasons to spoil things for yourself. Do not let self-sabotage get in the way of what can be yours. And to recognize that self-sabotage, you really got to start getting connected. Yeah. Get connected, tap into what is guiding you. You have a bright, shining intuition, and that guiding light, that compass inside of you is there for a reason. That is God trying to point you in the right direction. So don't fear the relationship because you think you're going to get hurt again. Let it be how it's meant to be. Gain the lessons you're meant to get from it. Don't deprive yourself of opportunity to grow and to learn yourself and to love because you're scared. That ruins the whole point. But you know what won't be scary? Moving into something that can possibly hurt you because you have your own back. You've gotten to know you. You've gotten to love you. That it doesn't matter if somebody comes in and out of here and they hurt you or they took a piece of you when they leave, because you are so whole and complete without this person that piece will take nothing to replenish. Nothing but a good journaling session, a chamomile tea, a prayer to God, and a good night's sleep. Yeah, we're not getting too hung up on the minor details of things anymore because we're accepting good love into our lives, and that love starts with us. And that love can never run empty when it's coming from such a bottomless pit of beauty that you are. But anyways, my loves, that is my little tidbit for this week. I really hope that you start to let in some real beauty into your life. Don't let fear guide your decisions. I don't take advice from anybody who's scared. Actually, maybe that's not necessarily. Actually, no, that's it. I don't take advice from people who are scared. I don't take advice out of fear. Don't ever listen to that scary voice in your head of what ifs and what ifs and what ifs. Super great book recommendation that my auntie gave me, Let Them by Mel Robbins. She's great. And it'll really open your eyes to the fact that you've been giving your power away every single time you're trying to control circumstances that are not in your control to begin with. Control's a funny illusion, yeah? It is a funny illusion that human beings continuously carry as a way of self-protection. But like I said, you don't protect yourself by trying to avoid. You protect yourself by knowing yourself, by loving yourself and putting yourself first. That's how you protect yourself, because then you don't let bullshit slide. So I really hope you put that into practice. Thank you for joining me again for another week. It was beautiful. And I'll miss you so much. Until next week, until next Friday, have a beautiful, beautiful week. And I will see you on the flip side. Goodbye.